MIDI Start continues its digital programming series with a studio interview with Nujoom AlGhanem, the Emirati filmmaker, poet, and artist. Visiting Nujoom during the quarantine, I caught her just in time while she was in transition moving studio spaces. We trace her life journey from her early years as a child in Dubai to her early journalism career, her time spearheading the early free verse poetry movement of the 1980s, and her formative years in Ohio and Australia that prepped her to become the award-winning international filmmaker she is today. Along with publishing several of her poetry collections, Nujoom has participated in the Venice Biennale twice, becoming in 2019 the first female artist to stage a solo exhibition at the UAE's Venice Pavilion. Her work focuses on themes of belonging, displacement, loss, and love, capturing her ongoing exploration of humanity and of the diversity of the people of her country. Providing a window into Nujoom's studio life, this video sheds a light on her inspirations, the challenges she overcame along the way, and advice to the younger generation. Let's see what this renowned storyteller has to share with us these days. Thank you so much, Nujoom, for speaking with me today in an interview. This is part of the UAE Cultural Diplomacy Department programming in line with the current research that I'm doing. So thank you for speaking with me today.
Thank you for coming to my studio and honoring me with this interview. Thanks a lot.
So I wanted to ask if you can introduce yourself, explain some of the art that you've been doing throughout the years.
Well, I'm a filmmaker and I have a passion for different types of art or forms. You know, I practice poetry and painting and ceramic. Recently, I started using my hands a lot, so I'm trying to make some sculptures. In fact, art helped me a lot to overcome some anxiety and difficult times. And it became, you know, like just the language that without I wouldn't be able to express myself.
Do you feel of all of the art forms that you do, what is the basis of the art? What do you feel is the root to your artistic creativity?
Well, I started painting, but I always say poetry is the first thing that comes to mind, the first thing that haunts me. And I start any project with poetry, not the other way. Sometimes the music is very essential, you know, like especially if I am going to shoot or if I have field work. But poetry is, has always been there and has always been the steering fact to start any new project.
The shadow of the night, to my friend Hassan Sharif, to his madness and breakdowns. Fear crept into my corner to share the evening cup with me. Just as I was getting used to these naked days, to living with neither coat nor friends, I might have managed to escape from it. But our eyes met in a flash of hope, and fate built a bridge for us. Together we walked through the nights, leaning on a single cane. The years piled up on our table, and we forgot that we were enemies, just as friends forget that they are friends. Fear became my shirt. I opened my arms to it, but instead of embracing me, it slipped into my heart. We became each other's nocturnal companion, surviving on air and sorrow. And now we have to pack our bags together and stand on the hill of angels, so they might choose us to appear before God. All these eras, for the sake of this fear that rooted in my heart, and still it's embracing me like a mother who cannot cope with the loss. Thank you.
When you were younger and you were just a child, what did you want to become? What was a dream job for you?
I always wanted to become an artist. And now when I think about it, of course, you know, I used to see my aunt painting, and I learned a lot from her, not only from her painting, but also from the photography, because she was a photographer as well. So I grew up looking at her and seeing her painting and taking photos of us. And I always wanted just to be like her. And when I finished high school, I asked my father if I could go to the university, but to study abroad, and he refused to let me travel. I was angry, and I had to go to the UAE University in Al Ain. But then, when I was thinking about it, why did I want, you know, to travel or to be like my aunt? I figured out that I was fascinated by how art gave her freedom, and I wanted just to be able to get that sort of a freedom. I just wanted to feel free to travel, to experience art, or to be educated in another environment and to explore another world.
So in terms of finding this freedom that you couldn't study abroad at the time, did you find at least a group of artists and creatives, writers, fine artists that were practicing here, that you found this sense of freedom by working with them?
Well, definitely we had our friends, probably who went through some challenging times themselves. It was, very important to meet up with some of the friends like Adel Khuzam, like Hassan Sharif, then Ahmed Rashid Thani, he was a great poet, and Abdelaziz Jassim. Of course, we spent more time with Hassan because we were living in Sharjah, and Hassan had the first atelier, the first studio in Sharjah at Al Murayja. So it was very easy for us to meet every day.
What was your first impression of Hassan?
The first exhibition he had was the one-day exhibition, and he exhibited some stones on the wall. My husband attended that exhibition, and he came to tell me I saw a quite unique experience today. And he talked about Hassan, and then we went to see him. And that's how we got to know each other. We were reading about contemporary art, and we wanted to do something different. And we saw this person who came, and he was quite fresh, and he had different concepts about art. We felt that we had similar language. And as if we met, as if we found each other, and that changed a lot in my opinion, because we decided that yes, this is what we wanted to do, and we should do whatever it takes.
It must have been so important as well to have that sense of a support network. Of people that were thinking the same, whether in different ways, applying it into the visual arts and poetry. The challenges, I'm sure, of being an artist at that time were so difficult.
You are right, because I think each one of us needed the other. Even Hassan Sharif needed someone who can communicate with, and who can, be with him, producing similar stuff. And I had to wait until 2015 to convince Hassan that we must make a film. And My friends Adel, Muhammad Ahmed Ibrahim and Muhammad Kadham, they also encouraged him.
أنقذت نفسي.
أي ابتسامة لا تطلعوها.
في ناس كانوا حتى بنعلهم يشوتوا العمل.
أنا فنان أرقص، وجميل في الفنان إنه يهدر وقته لإنتاج أعمال فنية.
أميل إلى ريتشوال وأفصل ريتشوال من سبريتشوال. بس الحين أنا أشعر أني أنا ما عندي أعداء. أعتقد هذه أيضا مشكلة، لأن لازم الحين أخلق أعداء. أنا أمشي لين أختفي وراء الكثبان الرملية.
You know, let's say in the 80s and 90s, when there was very little local education formally in institutions, what was people's form of education at the time? How could they learn about the contemporary art history when you're in Sharjah?
The early artists were just school students, and they tried their best. They were the pioneers, yes, but the type of art they were producing was amateur because it didn't have the formal education. When the early artists could go abroad and study, they came back more mature, and they started producing more professional work. It coincided also with the establishment of the Emirati Fine Arts Society. So there was a place for the artists to meet and to start having regular exhibitions in Sharjah.
You wanted to study abroad. How important was going to Ohio for you?
Well, it was very important. I waited to go to school for so long. I went, as I said, to the UAE university, but felt like that wasn't the place for me. I was already a journalist. So I decided to quit the university and to go back to my work with my high school certificate. But because you cannot get a good salary with that kind of education, and also I wanted just to improve my skills and to improve myself. So I needed to go somewhere and to learn, and I was lucky to go to Ohio University in a small town like Athens, Ohio, because with my children I was safe there, and I got the best education. I was studying art, I was studying video productions and theater, I was into film production. I worked a little bit for the studios that were part of the university and for the local theater as well. It was a turning point. And my teacher, my art teacher, was the one who encouraged me to start producing video art. So my first art performance was something that at the end it went to Venice, but that was the first thing I captured on camera, and I put it together later on in a video form.
Your film that you produced, Between Heaven and Earth, that was displayed in Venice Biennale in 2017, this was shot in Ohio, right?
Yes, it was shot in Ohio in 1994, and it was called Between Heaven and Earth, The Body I Borrowed.
Nothing remains the same, and this piece I wear above my bones will soon be dust to be blown in another sphere, or back to dirt where I fear. I'll celebrate the lakes before they dry, the woods before they become ashes, the beaches before they withdraw from our lands, and the desert before it swallows me. Why cannot I believe you? Why is it every time I say we are companions, you turn and walk away?
In the 80s, when we met Hassan Sharif, he brought a book with him called Performance. And it was written by Rosalie Goldberg. That book was about the art performance and about the Russian futurism. So we were quite busy translating that book and wanting to know more about it. We started even fascinating about making performance in Sharjah, but that didn't work. So when I get the chance to make something when I was in Ohio, I felt like, yeah, I waited for this and it is time for me to do it.
Since you first began producing art, how has the art scene changed today here in the UAE?
Definitely the themes have changed, and the approaches also have changed. I would say today the art enjoys the best period, and artists, they enjoy the best opportunities any artist could get. As I mentioned before, Sharjah was a cultural and artistic hub. It has been always the cultural and artistic hub. But today we have, different cities in the UAE that have become also another cultural centers and artistic centers. And what is happening in Abu Dhabi now, what is happening in Dubai, that proves what I'm saying. We have Art Abu Dhabi, we have Dubai Art, we have Sharjah Biennale, we have all these exhibitions and museums in Abu Dhabi, and these museums and exhibitions, they bring different level of arts, and the people, they can see what is happening in the world right now with the arts and the evolution of artworks.
How could you comment on maybe how art criticism has evolved in society here? I know, early on when these works were exhibited, the criticism was actually quite harsh when I was looking back at a few, and how it's changed till today.
Very important to have art criticism and to have objective art criticism. What had happened in the past, the journalists and some of the colleagues were attacking us personally, and unfortunately, but not objectively, and that was a problem. Today there is no art criticism at all, and this is another problem. Because artists, they need to see their artworks analyzed and interpreted.
But do you think during, let's say, the 80s, when you were producing work with Hassan, the criticism was there within your circle of friends, honest, raw criticism?
What was there is that we were honest with each other. We would talk about each other's work and discuss it, and sometimes fight about it. We didn't have any problem. Today, everyone is trying to paint a picture about, you know, the colleague and that artwork, whether the journalists or the friends themselves. And I don't see this as a natural way of, you know, dealing with art or literature. I feel like, you know, there's something wrong about this.
Now, on the converse, what are the similarities, you could say, of the basis of the art scene? Despite the challenges of being an artist in the late 70s, in the 80s, there was that sense of a community, that support network that was there. Would you say, you know, my question would really be, what is this a similarity you would find back then till now in the art scene?
I would say the similarity is in the support of the government or semi-governmental institutions or organizations. Honestly speaking, throughout history, we've always been supported by the government institutions and semi-government institutions. And without them, it would be very, very hard to achieve anything. Today, there are more opportunities for everyone, for young artists and for established artists. They are celebrating the established artists a lot, and I'm sure our friends are enjoying at least witnessing these days and being very productive in this new environment that is very encouraging and very tolerant.
Now, Nujoom, I know it's, you know, to be an artist in the 80s, obviously the late 70s, was so challenging. What kept you and propelled you to dream to be an artist and to continue to want to be an artist?
For me, art is a refuge. Art helps me being balanced, being in harmony with the world and with myself. If I don't practice art, I feel I lack something that is very necessary in my life, and I feel incomplete without art. That's what keeps me always encouraged and always motivated to produce new things and to be busy with my work, whether it is poetry, whether it is painting, or, you know, other aspect of art.
If you could share maybe today, you know, to talk maybe about today, what is a place that inspires you in the UAE? Is there a particular area here in the country that you love to go to have some inspiration for your work?
Well, I love the Northern Emirates. Every time I go there, I feel I'm so refreshed and so encouraged to start a new project there. The people are very simple, but they are very profound and very authentic. They are very generous. They are, you know, full of beauty. You know, like I just want to have more opportunities to be working with these people. I love also Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi, I feel like it is very cultural, very unique, and very welcoming. The energy in Abu Dhabi is amazing. I love art in Sharjah. Like when I want to see unique art, there is only Sharjah, you know, to think about it. Thank God we have more initiatives now. I mean, Sheikh Salama Foundation in Abu Dhabi and their support to the warehouse in Abu Dhabi and other initiatives in Abu Dhabi. The Music and Arts Foundation in Abu Dhabi has been very supportive as well. So because of these organizations, we are, you know, very lucky, you know, to be exposed to very unique art forms here today.
And Nujoom, I was reading an interview for the Venice, the most recent solo that you had at Venice, and it was this having deja vu moments or certain types of nostalgic memories when you visit a certain place, such as where you grew up, you know, along the creek, remembering the boats, remembering the wallpaper. Do you experience that often?
The landscape has changed a lot in the UAE. So when I go to old cities, I feel that, you know, deja vu. I feel like I miss the authenticity of the old cities. And maybe because of that, when I go to the Northern Emirates, I feel I need that type of energy, you know, to be the places that remind me probably of my childhood.
And maybe as of words of advice for younger artists, whether they're poets or filmmakers, I mean, you come with such a long legacy of, you know, awards that you've been receiving for the films, participating in Venice twice. For the younger artists, what words of advice or encouragement can you give for them?
I would say read a lot, read more and more. Read and, you know, not only about art but about everything in life, even, you know, theology or history or criticism or biology. I think any kind of reading is important for the artist. Also, it is important to watch art, to be surrounded with good art and different experiences, to be exposed to art that you are not used to. I think also important to keep a daily practice. No matter how busy you are, just, you know, keep art as your daily practice, as your daily habit. To keep working and to produce your own work, because you are going to excel in what you are doing if you do this.
Nujoom, I sincerely appreciated speaking with you today. I think we touched upon a lot of different topics covering, you know, the local art history here, your history, your aspirations, what you've followed in pursuit of your dreams and accomplished it. So I think what people can come out of it, especially the younger generation, is to hope and that, you know, you can, if with hard work and proper education, you can succeed and achieve your dreams. So thank you so much for being part of this interview. I look forward to keeping in touch with all of your projects you're doing.
Thank you.